What's up everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name's Ben and I'm glad to have you. Today I want to talk about how I think Arcane will drastically change Netflix animation, and unfortunately it's not good. I hate that I always think about all like the bad things that are gonna happen. Like I just genuinely can't enjoy when something good happens. Like it's probably something I need to resolve in therapy, but you know, that's expensive and making these videos are so much cheaper. So thank you, American healthcare system. Arcane is a massive success, and it's been a massive success. Season 1 was really great, and Season 2 seems to be continuing that trend. But with Arcane ending and Netflix looking ahead to the future, I believe that Netflix will start to look at Arcane as the standard. So why is that bad? It's a great show. It looks phenomenal. It made me realize that I was hating on Imagine Dragons when they didn't deserve it. In the same way that we all hated on Nickelback, even though they just put out like banger after banger with all the right reasons.
Would you shut the fuck up? I'm through standing in line, clubs never get it.
That album genuinely rocks. Like, don't kid yourself. Let yourself enjoy nice things. Stop with the hate. So to understand why this is such a bad thing, let's take us back through Netflix's history and understand where they really started to shift their business model. When sharing our passwords was completely fine, when we were all mooching off of our parents' accounts, when Netflix didn't cancel series after 3 weeks, and the world was just genuinely a better place. I'm talking about 2016. Remember 2016? God, that was such a good year until it wasn't. And that is where things changed for Netflix, because that is when Stranger Things premiered. Stranger Things completely changed the entire game for Netflix because that was their biggest show. Yes, they had successful shows with House of Cards and Orange is the New Black and Daredevil, but Stranger Things completely changed everything. Because it wasn't just successful, it became a cultural phenomenon. Everyone was talking about it. There was a complete shift in culture where we all collectively became obsessed with the 80s, and we all started listening to 80s music, and everyone was having these massive cocaine parties like they did in the 80s. I wasn't invited to them, but you know, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go anyways, so it's fine. There were even Halloween costumes for 11. That didn't happen before with Netflix shows. No one was dressing up as Grace and Frankie unless they were really fucking cool. But once Stranger Things came out, the stakes were upped, and every show that came out had to have numbers like Stranger Things, which is just not possible. Not every show can be a global phenomenon like Stranger Things, and that's why we're in this state where Netflix will just cancel shows so quickly, as we recently saw with Chaos that was canceled after 1 month after it premiered. And some shows just can't become an instant hit, right? They need time to grow, they need time to develop an audience, and this is something that Netflix won't learn or refuses to learn. You can't all be Stranger Things. Stranger Things did lasting damage to Netflix, and I feel like Arcane is going to do lasting damage as well. Every Netflix animated series going forward is going to need to be nearly as good, if not better than Arcane. And I feel like if they aren't, they will cancel them just as quickly as they canceled their live action shows. And they already suck at canceling animated series. Look at Inside Job, look at Dead End, look at My Dad the Bounty Hunter. The list will just keep going on and on because Netflix will want everything to match Arcane's success, just like how they want everything to match Stranger Things' success. And even if they just cranked out another animated banger and they cranked out another animated banger, they won't match the success of Arcane because there's so many factors for why Arcane did so well. So let's look at those factors. One of them is marketing. Netflix does such a shitty job marketing their projects. You want to know how shitty Netflix is at marketing? I watched Inside Job season 1 when it came out, and I watch a lot of their animated shows. Like I watch Big Mouth, I watch Human Resources, and BoJack Horseman. My feed and algorithm should be full of animated shows, but I had no idea Inside Job season 2 came out. The only reason I knew it came out was because I follow the creator on Twitter, and I can't do that with every show. So why was Arcane marketed so well? Well, we just found out that Riot Games, the makers of League of Legends, spent $60 million of their own money to market this whole thing. They literally pulled a Thanos and was like, I'm just gonna do it myself.
I'll do it myself.
Netflix will not market their animated shows in the same way, and other shows won't have the same resources that Riot does where they can just dump money into their marketing campaign. So that's one factor for why no show will match Arcane. But let's look at another factor. Arcane has a built-in audience with League of Legends. Let's be real here, the whole thing is just a commercial for League of Legends, right? Like it's a good commercial, but it's a commercial nonetheless. But League of Legends is one of the biggest online games with 180 million players. There are literally live championships of this game. It already had a following. Half of marketing is just getting awareness, and they already had a massive amount of awareness. So no show will even come close to matching those viewership numbers of Arcane, and it won't just have to match the viewership, it will need to match the budget as well. Recently, the budget came out for all of Arcane, and it was $250 million, making it Netflix's most expensive animated show of all time. And while on paper that does seem like a lot, but when you break it down by the minute, it's really not. The entire series is roughly around 720 minutes or 12 hours, so that's 6 2-hour movies, or even more if they're hour-and-a-half movies. To put Arcane's budget in perspective, Inside Out 2's budget was reportedly $200 million, $50 million less than all of Arcane, and that movie was only an hour and a half with credits, so maybe hour 20? So when you put it into that perspective, it's really not much, and there's also a lot of ways that Arcane already had a leg up in terms of production. There was already a lot of work done on League of Legends, right? Like, their characters were already designed. Sure, they had to figure out the overall look of the series, but a lot of the R&D was already done. A lot of the lore was already figured out. Don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of work that needed to be done on the show rather than just what League of Legends did, but they had a massive head start on the show. And Netflix, being Netflix, ain't gonna realize that when they throw $200 million at the next animated show. And they will do this. Every business does this, right? Like, where they just throw the same amount of money at a project and expect the same results and just ignore why the first project might have worked in the first place. It's like a guy trying the exact same pickup line on every woman. Like, yeah, maybe one will work, but definitely not all of them. I know from experience. Look at how they handled Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon, where they blew $166 million and then made a director's cut, even though Zack Snyder had complete control over that entire project. They saw Zack Snyder's Justice League and were like, hey, let's do that. The best projects come from copying people, so they threw money at it and made a director's cut, and they thought they would have the same success, even though there were so many other factors for why Zack Snyder's Justice League did so well. And did anyone watch those director's cuts? Like, I remember hearing so much about Rebel Moon Part 1, and then nothing. No Part 2, no Director's Cut Part 1, no Director's Cut Part 2, because they don't market their own shit. Anyways, that's what I think is going to happen with the next big animated show. They're going to throw the same amount of money, expect the same exact results, even though there were so many factors to why Arcane was able to hit that number, and why Arcane was so successful to begin with. So why is this bad? It's bad for you, the audience. You'll likely get more shows, which is nice at first, but they will then be canceled because they can't match Arcane's instant success. Some of them may not be as good because they don't have the budget, because they were trying to match Arcane's budget, which they may not be able to do. And then the stakes will be even higher because Netflix spent so much money, so in the future they will likely take less risks, so these really creative projects can't thrive. And that means that there will be less shows, and that means that there will be less jobs to go around. And the animation industry, it's already hurting, but it's just gonna get so much worse. So I've been dreary as shit this whole video, and I'm kind of tired of being negative. Arcane is great. It should be celebrated. So let's end on a positive note, and here are just some good things that I think will come from Arcane. Arcane's animation style will inspire others, and it will show studios that audiences like different animation styles. Similar to how when Into the Spider-Verse came out, we started to see different kinds of animation. We got 3D that looked like 2D, and that's how we got projects like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, Mitchells vs. the Machines, and the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Into the Spider-Verse proved that audiences wanted more animation styles other than the 3D Pixar look that was dominant for 20 years. We'll see the same thing with Arcane, where more series will branch out and be allowed to try out new styles. Another good thing is we'll be able to get really good video game adaptations out of this. Netflix has already had some really great video game adaptations with Castlevania and Tomb Raider and Cyberpunk Edgerunners. And we will likely see more and more of these projects where they're adapting worlds and characters and not just adapting stories, as we've seen with Arcane and Cyberpunk. Another good thing about Arcane is it was released on a weekly model, and that is great. Weekly models help build an audience, it helps gain word of mouth buzz, and it is overall just a better release strategy than just dumping a $100 million show in one weekend when you can stretch that out over 2 to 3 months, as we saw work really well, not just with Arcane but also other streamers. Like recently we had Agatha All Along, or The Penguin, where their viewership numbers were up by the finale. Arcane might finally convince Netflix to drop the binge model and move towards a more sustainable release strategy. These are all good things, and they can be good things if they learn the right lessons, but who are we kidding? This is Netflix. They ain't gonna learn shit. And that's how I think Arcane will forever change Netflix animation, in some good ways, but mostly bad. But what do you think? Do you think that Netflix will put high pressure stakes on their next animated shows as well? Are there other ways that you think this could negatively hurt animation as a whole? Or if you're an optimist, God bless you, keep on doing what you're doing, but what are some good things that you think can come from this? Let me know in the comments. And if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I know there's a lot of choices out there, and you saw me on the homepage or something like that, and you chose me, so thank you very much. If you would like to see more, please like, comment, and subscribe. I put out new videos every week detailing and breaking down trends in the film and TV business, just like I did with Arcane. So if you subscribe, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.